Hello everyone, and let me tell you a little story. In February, a friend of mine came up to me, he doesn't have very much gaming experience, and he asked, "Johnny, I've been looking at a few new games recently, which one should I buy?" I gave him some friendly consumer advice, and then he went off to pick the game he wanted. But that question stayed with me. Why those games? Are they really the best place to start? The two games in question, Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring, both came out at pretty much the same time. They were both massive open worlds with complicated gameplay and stories that went upwards of 20 hours. They were obviously going to be compared to each other, but that's not what this video is here for. This video is here to answer a very simple question. Which open world game should I play first? With gaming as big and popular as it is these days, it can feel a little daunting for beginners. Gamers tend to forget their years of muscle memory and experience. How do you explain to your granddad, for example, why one game is better than another? Surely they're both just games. Here then is a list of the 5 best open world games for beginners to try first. Beware mild spoilers ahead, but for nothing later than 2017, so you really should have caught up at this point. Have fun! Even if you haven't played it, there's a good chance you'll have heard of Skyrim. Since its brilliantly marketable 11/11/11 release date, Skyrim has gone on to sell 30 million copies around the world. So yes, it's already popular. Is that going to stop me from explaining why? Hell no! Whilst it's part of the venerable Elder Scrolls series, all the games are standalone experiences, so you don't need to play the others first, which is good, considering that the previous game had characters that look like this. Skyrim has a snow-capped Nordic feel to it that leaves you feeling isolated, a lone adventurer out to explore. Be anyone, do anything, is the motto of this game. Want to follow the story? Great! Want to murder every NPC and become lord of all you survey? Bit weird, but also great. If you do decide to follow the story, after one of the most memeable openings in video gaming,
Hey, you! Finally awake.
You'll become the Dragonborn, the one with the power to use the magical language of dragons as a weapon. If you don't want to follow the main story, however, Skyrim has some really great side quests to uncover. The Companion's questline in particular is a favourite of mine, if only because, spoilers, you get to become a werewolf. Leveling up your character is done differently to most role-playing games. Rather than receiving experience for killing enemies or completing quests, you level up skills individually by using them. So if you want to level up your archery skill, use a bow. If you want to level up magic, shoot some flames out of your hands. You'll need to go exploring to keep leveling up these skills, however, and Skyrim is a fantastic world to explore. It feels like a world full of secrets. It doesn't hold your hand or give you huge waypoints to follow, it just gives you some landmarks and leaves the rest to your curiosity. The game is still buggy 10 years later, yes, but that just adds to the charm when you can ride your horse up vertical cliff faces. The fact that the Skyrim community has been active for 10 years now is very impressive, and they're still creating new fan-made content every day, if you're the sort of person that wants lightsabers in your fantasy RPG. Honestly, this is the ultimate gateway open world. Not too big and not too complicated, perfect for new players. How could we possibly top this? With Dragon Age, that's what. My not so subtle love of the Dragon Age series notwithstanding, Dragon Age Inquisition goes for epic scale right from the start. For example, this is how the game starts as soon as you press New Game. Set in the world of Thedas, an enormous magical explosion causes the death of the fantasy pope and leaves the world in political chaos. Oh, and it also tore the sky in half and allowed demons to start popping up. No big deal. You play as the Inquisitor, who can seal the breaches due to a magical mark on your hand. You can create your Inquisitor from 4 possible races: humans, elves, dwarves, and Kunari, and then from the 3 standard fantasy classes: warrior, rogue, and mage. It feels very grounded for a magical save-the-world style plot, but that's where the game's biggest strengths come in. It seamlessly manages to blend the epic scale of Thedas with the personal stories of your companions. You can recruit people into your party and go around saving the world, and over time you really get to know them. These are some of the most compelling companion characters in video games. Yes, I mean you, Dorian. And each one has their own likes, dislikes, and responses to anything you do.
Oh, didn't I mention? The South is so charming and rustic. I adore it to little pieces.
It's impossible to please everyone. It is possible, however, to flirt heavily with everyone you come across. BioWare games are famous for their romance options, and this game is no exception. These romances aren't shallow Hollywood relationships. Some are romantic, some are heartbreaking, and some are just hilarious. Honestly, this game is worth it just for the characters gossiping about your relationships. the character detail also extends into how you fix the world. As you build up the Inquisition, you'll talk to your advisors around the war table. These are Cullen, a former Templar and commander of your armies, Josephine, your ambassador, who could destroy entire empires with a handwritten note, and Leliana.
My position here involves a degree of...
She is our spy master.
Yes, tactfully put, Cassandra.
Each of them helps you in their own way, and whilst they never accompany you out into the world, their help is invaluable in putting the world back together. So why should you play Dragon Age Inquisition? Well, put simply, scale. This game is nothing short of an epic power fantasy. Whether it's the size of the world, split into zones to make it seem even larger, or the length of the game, possibly pushing upwards of 100 hours if you fully dive into it, you'll become so invested in the world of Thedas that you'll just keep coming back for more. To top it all off, the DLC adds to the story, sets up the next game, and concludes the stories of the characters in a moment so emotionally wrenching that you'll need a dedicated therapist just to process it all. So have fun with that one. But what if you wanted a more grounded, personal story? What if you wanted to play the game that's single-handedly responsible for making The Witcher as popular as it is? Popular enough to get its own Netflix series and the lovely Henry Cavill as Geralt? Well, you want The Witcher 3, baby! Despite being the third game in the series, you can jump right in and start playing with almost no explanation. But here's a quick one anyway. Geralt of Rivia is a witcher, basically a monster hunter. He slays monsters for coin and tries to stay out of political problems. He fails very badly at that second point.
National interest calls on one to forge difficult alliances at times. Alliances with witches included.
At the start of the game, Geralt is looking for Yennefer, his lost love, but the focus soon shifts to finding Ciri, his surrogate daughter. His search will take him all across the continent, fighting monsters, uncovering conspiracies, and generally just giving him opportunities to be a badass. Geralt himself is a really compelling character. He's a man who, if you didn't know him, would seem cold and harsh, but to his friends he's one of the wittiest and kindest people you'll ever meet.
You really look quite dashing in black velvet.
Think so? Maybe I can have some of my armor lined with it.
He speaks to his horse, he cares about small children, and stands up for the innocent wherever he can. This is what keeps getting him into trouble with all the horrible things in the world. The world of The Witcher 3 is massive, and brimming with monsters, as well as the best sunsets in a video game. As a witcher, Geralt is more than capable of handling anything he comes across, but the game does a very good job of feeling challenging regardless. Either you'll walk in and cut down everything in seconds, or you'll just survive by the skin of your teeth. Each outcome is engaging and really makes the world feel dangerous. You'll need all your skills to survive, and luckily Geralt has plenty of skill to go around. With 3 main skill trees split into might, magic and alchemy, there are plenty of ways to deal with the horrors you'll face. Will you cast a quick sign and set an enemy on fire? Will you throw a bomb for some extra damage? Or will you just cut their heads off? The choice is yours, and you can mix and match how you'd like. The attention to detail is immense. Each quest, from the lowliest monster hunt to the highest conspiracy, is packed with incredible writing, great characters, and more monsters than you can shake a silver sword at. This isn't a world that needs to be explored thoroughly, but CD Projekt Red have nonetheless packed it full of rewards for the players who want to explore. You might just find some diagrams for an armor set, or you might just find a wraith. That's the beauty of The Witcher 3's world. You never know what you'll find. You just know that it'll be very detailed and probably trying to kill you. Zelda. The age-old series finally turned its hand to making an open world. Could the granddad of gaming finally move with the times and make a competitive open world game? In a word, yes. In several, they absolutely smashed it, and I can't think of a game in recent memory that changed the game like Breath of the Wild. Let's get the plot out of the way first. You are Link. After a fight with your nemesis Ganon, you fall asleep in a bath, and wake up shirtless 100 years later. Hey, we've all been there, right? As soon as you wake up, you hear the voice of Princess Zelda, who has been holding back Ganon for 100 years. You're not strong enough after your long nap to help her, however, so you adventure around the world of Hyrule, looking for ways to make yourself stronger and fight Ganon on your terms. But that's just framing. You're not coming to Zelda for the plot. You're here because Breath of the Wild did something that no other game before or since has managed to do. Unlimited, explorative freedom. Big words. Let me explain. Do you see a mountain? Climb it. Do you want to start a campfire? Make it. Do you want to sneak up behind your enemies, drop a banana peel and watch them slip over? Do it. This is where Breath of the Wild shines. It extends its hand and confidently says, everything the light touches is your playground. By letting players experiment and explore the world at their own pace, it gives the world a sense of serenity that you don't often get with other open worlds. Where other games just dot the map with endless side quests and waypoints to explore, Breath of the Wild just leaves them out there. Sure, you could go and work your way through that shrine, gaining some weapons and abilities for your trouble, or you could just stand by a cooking pot, cook up some meat, and feed it to a dog. Cooking is so much fun in this game. Just throw some random ingredients in a pot, watch them bubble, and voila! Tasty looking food that heals you. You'll need that food as well. Combat can be a little irritating at the start of the game, especially the rock hard boss fights, and the fact that your weapons break if you use them too much is just annoying, let's face it. But the combat soon starts to get easier, and you'll find yourself relaxing into the whole experience. By giving you a glider after the opening tutorial, and by focusing on world design rather than graphical quality, Breath of the Wild has managed to make a world that you can literally climb all over to uncover its secrets. This is what I mean by explorative freedom. There isn't an order to do things, or a checklist of objectives to stress you out. It's just you, the world, and your horse. Breath of the Wild is one of the most relaxing worlds in all of gaming, and a masterclass in open world design. If you have a Nintendo Switch, this game is essential. It might even be my favourite game here, were it not for the final game on this list. Horizon Zero Dawn. After playing the sequel, Forbidden West, this was the game that inspired this video. To me, it's the ultimate open world game for beginners. Why should you play it, I hear you ask? Robot dinosaurs. End of video, please like and subscribe. What, you need more? Oh, fine. 1,000 years in the future, after a robot apocalypse, you play as Aloy, a machine hunter and outcast from the Nora tribe. She starts off trying to prove herself to the tribe, but after an attack by a powerful cult, she sets off into the world to uncover the group behind the attack. Along the way, she uncovers the truth about the robot apocalypse, her own place in the world, and who exactly these weird cultists are. I'll let you in on a secret here. This is the game being very clever, because it increases the scope of Aloy's story as the player's scope of the world increases. The world is gorgeously designed. Icy mountains, desert canyons, cramped jungles, they're all lovingly rendered to make the world feel as real as possible, considering it's the 31st century. Add in the fact that it's teeming with robot dinosaurs, and the world really starts to feel dangerous. Zero Dawn also applies this increasing sense of scale to how you navigate the world. Early on, you'll be walking everywhere and jumping off mountains just to quickly get where you're going, but Aloy soon unlocks the ability to override machines, which is frankly incredible. How this works is, Aloy sneaks up behind a machine and starts to override it with her spear. Once overridden, the machine will be loyal to her and will either fight on her side or let her ride it, depending on the machine. So very soon you'll be able to quickly ride across the map on a robot horse, shooting arrows into anything that you come across. And if that's not the most literally metal sentence I've ever said, I'll be surprised. Speaking of arrows, combat can go from calm to frenetic in the blink of an eye. With a choice of bows, tripwires and slings to play around with, you'll always have a tool to deal with the machine you're hunting, or the one that's hunting you. Each machine has a specific elemental weakness, and specific weak points that you need to focus on. You need to highlight them first, which you can do with your focus, a device which highlights the enemy's weak points and lets Aloy track things better than she normally could. Some people would argue whether all this is really necessary when you could just shoot a robot dinosaur full of 3 million arrows. To that I say, Thunderjaw. Come up against one of these things without being prepared, and you'll be killed faster than you can say, "Oh my god, it's a massive robot T-Rex." By the end of the game you'll be all kitted out and able to murder them in seconds, but the sheer presence of something like this in the world is yet another clever way to make you feel like you're making progress. So I'll answer that question again. Why should you play it? Because it's a brilliantly designed open world with impressively deep world building, an intelligent combat system, and a great protagonist, with a story that'll leave you wanting more, luckily. Also, robot dinosaurs! So that was a list of the 5 best open world games for beginners to try first. Do you agree with our list? Do you have any suggestions of your own? If so, put them in the comments, and please do like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Now, what's coming up on the channel next? Well, next Friday we have the next series of Indigo, where we'll be starting a brand new game. Tune in then to find out what it is, and if you want to watch the entire series of the first season of Indigo, then we have a handy dandy playlist which I will put on screen here, somewhere. So have fun with that one, and I will see you then. Goodbye everyone!